Apocalypse+Rebirth+Female Strong+Stock up+Space+Abilities+Cruelty, a wide-ranging meteorite shower descended on the blue star, causing a reshuffle of existing scientific patterns. Various monsters descended upon the human world with the Black Rain, and the unknown Black Realm formed after the meteorite fell. Humans are no longer the only high-level intelligent creatures on the blue star. Mingyue worked hard for 10 years in the post-apocalyptic world, disabled and blind. When the last human base was conquered by monsters, her life came to an abrupt end. Unexpectedly, she was fortunate enough to be reborn. 2 months before the end of the world, she faced off with relatives of the white-eyed wolf. She was so shocked that she turned around and demanded 500 million yuan in support from her abandoned scumbag father. D province sells grain, S province sells vegetables, X province sells fruits, M province sells fresh meat, and then goes to various major countries to sell goods. Don't worry about dirty or tiring work, the 1.9-meter space elf sincerely serves you. Cooking and warming up the bed are not wrong, but you can also chase monsters and run away. Loyal and virtuous, pray for the owner's good health every day. Starting from the end of the world, others cry and gnaw on the grass roots. Mingyue drinks soda and eats grilled meat, fried chicken and steak for 5 meals a day. Others were being chased by monsters, panting and panting. Mingyue chased the monster and dug out the crystal core, causing her hand to cramp. Don't panic when encountering enemies, shake off your superpowers and resist 2 shots, just beat them up. I originally wanted to keep upgrading and increase the free time to 24 hours, so she and the space elf hid inside, eating, drinking, and having fun for a lifetime. But I never expected these crystal nuclei and sources to dig and kill all the monsters in the Flower Kingdom. I accidentally became a savior. Chapter 1. Beating the White-Eyed Wolf. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sister, you have been holding on to the inheritance left by Mom's death for long enough. Now that we are all adults, it's time to share it again. The dazzling incandescent light illuminated the entire room, and Mingyue squinted her eyes, looking at everything in front of her in a daze, feeling very unreal. The sofa under my buttocks, the coffee table in front of me, and even the floor under my feet are all clean and tidy enough to reflect a person's figure, which is very different from the dirty and corrupt appearance in the apocalypse. Isn't she killed by a level 10 monster after the last human base was breached? Even if her brain would reverse her memory before death, shouldn't it make her recall these innocent white-eyed wolves? In the small living room, except for Mingyue, the remaining 4 people sat side by side on the sofa. On the left, the older ones are Jianshu, the scumbag father who started from scratch and abandoned his wife and children, and Lin Xiuyi, the shameless stepmother of the 3rd generation. On the right, there is Qingxue, the younger sister who pretends to be a good white lotus, and Zihao, the younger brother of the white-eyed wolf who shamelessly asks for money from her. Sister, I'm getting married soon too. Although the other party is a second marriage, he is also a prominent figure in the financial industry. You can't just watch your sister go to their house empty-handed and be bullied to death, can you? Qingxue lowered her head in grievance to supplement, licking her face and demanding a dowry from Mingyue. Zihao saw that Mingyue had not spoken yet, as if he had fallen into some kind of memory, with a hint of impatience on his face. He leaned closer and wanted to say 2 more words. Big sister. In my past life, I worked hard to kill the zombies for this group of relatives, fought to the death to bring them to a safe base, and even shared every item in the space with them free of charge. As the supplies in the space bottomed out, when Mingyue asked them to go out with her to search for supplies. This group of people, however, felt that Mingyue was intentionally swallowing food and wanted to abandon them. So, taking advantage of her serious injury, he fed her a sedative, dug out her eyes, broke her tendons, and gave her to a lunatic conducting human experiments to study the secrets of the space. Although she escaped from the laboratory later and had already killed these white-eyed wolves to vent her anger, her hatred towards them did not dissipate with her death. Moreover, with Zihao's close contact, Gu Mingyue reflexively responded. Pop. The crisp sound of applause echoed throughout the living room. Gu Zihao was unprepared and his head was fanned 90 degrees. Looking at the pitch-black TV screen, his head was stunned and buzzing. Then the electric tingling pain brought him back to his senses, and he turned his head in anger to look at Gu Mingyue. However, he met a pair of smiling and murderous eyes, forcing him to retreat from his profanity. Gu Mingyue used to be a hardworking and good sister image, never hitting anyone. The other three people in the living room had never seen Gu Mingyue look like this before. They hurriedly helped up Gu Zihao and looked at her with a shocked expression on their faces. The effects of force are mutual. Just now, after slapping her palm and feeling numb, Gu Mingyue knew she was reborn. Without waiting for everyone to speak, she stood up and preemptively said, "Where did the inheritance come from?" "After our father had an affair, although my mother received custody of the three of us, she almost left the house with only one store. A few years ago, in order to treat my mother's illness, she sold everything and even owed a lot of debt. The house where you two live now was still bought by me with my hard-earned money. Isn't our family blaming you for our debts?" Gu Zihao felt quite frustrated when he heard this. "Back then, there was a wealthy Mr. Li who liked you and said he was going to treat our mother. If you accepted his money, we wouldn't have sold a good clothing store and gone to drink the wind." Gu Mingyue was about to be laughed at in anger, that Mr. Li was just an unscrupulous old lecher. It's really her good younger brother who could say such shameless words to make her accept care. Her heart didn't suddenly turn bad. It's ridiculous that she didn't notice in her past life. She directly exerted her strength to patch a large pocket on the other side of Gu Zihao's face. Pop. "Sister, although Zihao's speech sounds unpleasant, is it reasonable? 5 million yuan, that Mr. Li doesn't have a wife yet, it's just like dealing with someone else." Gu Qinxue actually has resentment towards her sister and even her mother. When his parents divorced, Gu Zihao was still young, but Gu Qinxue had already remembered. She was originally the prestigious young lady of the Gu family. Even though Lin Yue moved in with the Gu family after getting pregnant, why couldn't her mother endure it for her? Divorce is all that matters, but unfortunately, she still has stomach cancer and has become a complete destitute. Meanwhile, her sister Gu Mingyue has the same temperament as her mother. Accustomed to pretending to be aloof, can being aloof be used as money? Can it be eaten as a meal? Gu Mingyue closed her eyes lightly, murmuring in her heart, "Don't be angry." The day when Gu Zihao and his family came to separate property was on the 3rd day of July, and there were still 2 months left until the end of the world. Now, if they don't, they may have to work hard themselves. Damn it. I can't resist it at all. Gu Mingyue suddenly grabbed Gu Qinxue's collar and slapped her 5 times in the face. The speed honed by the end of the decade was as fast as a remnant. "D's, so you can easily become a mistress too. I've been wanting to beat you up for a long time, you despicable thing." Gu Mingyue suppressed the idea of trying to strangle these 2 cowards. In her past life, her younger brother and sister came to share the family property. Although she had a cold heart, she still gave it to them without teaching them a lesson. After the end of the world, this group of people relied on her to survive, so she didn't hear any inferior words from these animals until she was sent to the laboratory. Gu Qinxue's face immediately swelled, and she looked at Gu Mingyue incredulously. She felt as if her sister had suddenly changed, and now she looked like a demon in hell when she was being beaten. Watching the lively scene, the scumbag's stepmother saw that the situation was serious and quickly stood up to falsely pull the strings. Although Gu Zihao lived a few years of hardship when he was a child, he never suffered. Seeing Gu Jianshu and Lin Yue holding Gu Mingyue's arm and wanting to take advantage of the situation to return their slaps, they were punched in the jaw by Gu Mingyue and flew backwards. After all, she fought desperately to kill zombies for 10 years in the apocalypse, not to mention that before the apocalypse, her strength was not small. She was just 4 ordinary people without abilities, and she was very easy to deal with. Gu Mingyue, like a loach, broke free from her grip and punched several non-fatal but painful acupoints on the four of them. Half an hour later, the four of them were like fish out of the water, supporting each other and kneeling on the ground. Although there were no scars on their bodies, the pain was so intense that they couldn't get up, and their eyes were filled with suppressed anger. "You even beat me, rebellious and unfilial." Gu Jianshu spoke angrily, trembling and closing his mouth when he saw Gu Mingyue's fist in mid-air. He seemed to catch a glimpse of the murderous intent in Gu Mingyue's eyes for a moment. This eldest daughter has been stubborn since she was young. If she really provokes her, maybe she will actually kill someone. Quickly turning his head, he saw Gu Zihao, who was also bruised and swollen on the side. His eyes turned black, and he was just these two useless trash. If he wanted money, he would ask for it. I didn't know what to say, but now he's also being beaten. Finally, Gu Mingyue let out a mouthful of anger in her heart, leaning half on the sofa and waving her painful fingers, with a cold smile on her beautiful face. Looking at Lin Yue, who was packing quails, she slowly spoke up and said, "Auntie Xiao-san, what is the purpose of coming here with my dad today? I don't have patience. If you don't tell the truth after a while, I'll have to see off the guests." Chapter 2. What to do with the life of an illegitimate son and me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Lin Yue first arrived, she wore a delicate noble lady's head and a glass jade bracelet, making her a charming and elegant lady at first glance. At this moment, lipstick was applied to half of my chin in disgust, my hair was in an indescribable mess, and my clothes were torn a few times, making me look no different from beggars on the street. Mingyue. Auntie knows you're blaming me, and this time you hit me, you're also angry. Even if we turn over our previous stories, do you think it's okay? I'm tired, you guys go. Gu Mingyue said softly without even lifting her eyelids. Lin Yue's resentful gaze flashed by, and she immediately put on a pitiful look. After a fierce beating, she finally understood that Gu Mingyue was not easy to deceive, so she simply told the truth. It's like this, Xiao Tian, he has leukemia and needs a bone marrow transplant. Can you help Auntie go to the hospital to get a new type? It's not painful and has no side effects. Upon hearing this, Gu Qinxue and Gu Zihao exchanged a glance and found a happy expression in each other's eyes, even reducing the pain on their bodies. You deserve it. They actually knew about this long ago, and Gu Jianshu told them on his way here. Gu Qinxue and the other two were both very refined, not in a hurry to agree or refuse. They only said that it all depends on the older sister's thoughts. If she agrees to go for a match, they will go. In fact, they don't want Gu Mingyue to agree to the styling. Even silently cursing in his heart that this illegitimate child would die soon, so that the father would only have these 3 children, and not all the money for family care would be theirs. Mingyue, Auntie is just such a son. He's also your own younger brother. Breaking bones and connecting tendons, you can't ignore him, can't you? Gu Mingyue let out a cold snort, and she naturally knew the purpose of these scumbags coming here. In her past life, although she resented these scumbags, she was very kind and felt that the disaster was not enough for her descendants. After hesitating for a week, she agreed to go for a match. As a result, this scumbag revealed their true colors after using her, and their scumbag father continued to ignore her. The mistress's stepmother secretly found someone to suppress the online store she relied on for survival. Before the end of the world, the well-selling online store closed down due to too many negative reviews. This is also the primary reason why she didn't have the money to buy supplies in the early post-apocalyptic period. Since I have been reborn for a lifetime, joke, why do I care about the life of an illegitimate child who stole my father's love and squeezed out my family property? Gu Mingyue looked down at Lin Yue, her voice inexplicably cold. Lin Yue's character is not good, but she has a maternal nature. Seeing Gu Mingyue's attitude, she rubbed her knees and climbed up to Gu Mingyue to beg her. How boastful she was when she moved into the Gu family with her stomach full. How could she have such a humble day begging for her original children? Wife, let's go. Why are you so lowly begging for a heartless beast? Gu Jianshu looked at Lin Yue's humble and disheveled appearance without any beauty, and a hint of disgust flashed in his eyes. He stood up to pull her up. If Xiaotian really can't do it anymore, he will know that we have done our best. Even if there is resentment or death, it is not our turn. In one sentence, it seems that if this illegitimate child dies, it is Gu Mingyue's fault. Upon hearing this, Gu Qinxue and his wife were overjoyed. They wished their illegitimate child would die tomorrow, so Gu Jianshu would take them back to inherit their family business for the sake of retirement. Everyone looked happily at Gu Mingyue. So his sister changed her nature and hit them, actually playing a cruel trick, to show that she was particularly ruthless and cut off their desire to save their illegitimate child. It's all for the sake of the three of them inheriting the Gu family property better. They blamed their sister wrongly. Sister, what a clever plan. When Gu Mingyue saw the excited eyes of Gu Qinxue and her companions, she knew that they were holding something in their hearts, just dreaming of Gu Jianshu taking them home. They didn't know that when Gu Jianshu was young, he thought he was pretty and had a lot of flirtatiousness with other women. After getting rich, he became even more promiscuous and had at least dozens of illegitimate children outside. He didn't care whether these children were doing well or not. Even when she first married Lin Yue, she weighed the pros and cons and despised a wife who was worthless for not being able to create benefits for him. However, Lin Yue had a high-ranking father who colluded with him both inside and outside after marrying him. The company grew bigger and bigger, and its ambition never stopped until it went public. If it weren't for the fear of Lin Yue's high-ranking father, he wouldn't even come to see the three of them and ask them to match what type. Auntie Xiao-san, stop crying now. She's crying so ugly. My mother Chuanxia has knowledge that being pushed out of the Gu family by your appearance, I'm afraid she might be unwilling and come to find you. Gu Mingyue's strange words made Lin Yue neither cry nor cry. Her hand froze in the corner of her eye, looking at Gu Mingyue. In order to prevent that illegitimate child from bothering my mother, I have to promise you too. Gu Mingyue pulled Lin Yue up from the ground with a kind smile on her face. Her appearance has already drawn on all the strengths of her parents, with thin and white skin, delicate and small nose, and a pair of beautiful peach blossom eyes that can dazzle people when they look at each other. Even though she scolded her, she couldn't say a word of gravity in front of her face. Lin Yue admitted that Gu Mingyue was surprisingly beautiful. Although they were all children of Gu Jianshu, her facial features were much more delicate than the others. At such an age, she felt a hint of envy and jealousy. Do you really agree? Auntie really thanks you from the bottom of her heart. She lowered her head and flipped through her expensive handbag, taking out a bank card from inside. Auntie really owes you too much. There is 100,000 yuan here, so you should share it equally with your younger brothers and sisters. No matter how small the mosquito is, it is still flesh. In the puzzled gaze of the two siblings, Gu Mingyue directly accepted the bank card and put it into her pocket. However, I have 3 conditions, Gu Mingyue said slowly. Lin Yue's happy expression froze. What? What conditions? She asked in a trembling voice. Gu Mingyue turned around and returned to the bedroom, holding a black and white photo back to the living room. In the photo, there was a middle-aged woman with wrinkles on her eyes but still beautiful, wearing a pearl necklace with an elegant posture. Gu Jianshu and Lin Yue faced the black and white photo, their hearts beating like drums, as if they had fallen into a hellish ice cave in the scorching summer. Gu Mingyue looked at the extremely guilty expressions of the two, her delicate lips slightly rising. The first condition is that I want you to slap yourself hard in front of my mother's portrait until you see blood. The second condition is that I want you, Dad, to kneel down and apologize to my mother's portrait for not being able to save her, and kowtow 10 times. The third condition is that since you divorced my mother, you haven't paid any child support in the past 15 years, and it's all my mother and I working hard together to support this family. Now that your Gu Group's assets have all reached 50 billion yuan, I want you to compensate our 3 siblings with 1% of the shares, which is not excessive, is it? Chapter 3. Many Wonders of Space. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. What? You want me to kneel down and apologize in front of this tattered photo, and also give you shares in the Gu Group? It's really against the norm, I won't agree. Wife, let's go. The anger in Gu Jianchu's eyes was about to burst out. If it weren't for being unable to defeat Gu Mingyue, he would definitely pull off his belt and beat this unfilial daughter to death now. Seeing him about to leave, Gu Mingyue walked briskly to the door, opened it, and made a welcoming gesture to leave. Thinking of my son's emaciated appearance tormented by illness. Lin Yue tightly grabbed Gu Jianchu's sleeve and forcefully pulled him back. I agree, for the sake of my only son, I agree. She wrapped her hand around Gu Jianchu to prevent him from leaving, looking at him almost pleadingly. Husband, I beg you, you agree. We apologize and kowtow to Sister Fang. It's not a big deal, and 3% of the shares are not too much. I beg you, Xiao Tian is my life. If he dies, I won't be able to survive. Under Lin Yue's crying, Gu Jianchu reluctantly stayed behind. Gu Mingyue respectfully placed the portrait on the coffee table and looked at Gu Jianchu and the other two. Which of you will come first? Gu Jianchu and Lin Yue, look at me, I look at you, both hesitant. They agreed, but they have been pampering each other for many years. Under the gaze of 3 young people, kneeling with slap still feels a bit reluctant. Hurry up. My sister's patience is limited. Since following Gu Mingyue and getting a 1% stake, Gu Zihao has transformed into a dog and returned to Gu Mingyue's side. He is Gu Mingyue's younger brother. When she calms down, the future shares and money will not be inherited by this man like him. Gu Qinxue doesn't like his younger brother's lowly appearance. He's already 18 years old and still respects Gu Mingyue everywhere, without any independent opinions. He will kiss whoever gives a bone, and live like a dog at a young age. After all, it was the mothers who cared more about their children that Lin Yue's heart froze. She first slapped herself hard in the face. Pop pop pain. Super painful, she looked at the 3 young people next to the portrait with resentment, holding her gaze against the good scenes. She needs to remember this humiliation. After Xiao Tian recovers, she must find someone to kill these 3 little beasts. The sound of popping was as light and lively as setting off firecrackers in Gu Mingyue's ear. In the past, she was never willing to force these people to slap and kneel down. It was the 10 years of being deceived, betrayed, and tortured in the apocalypse that cultivated her paranoid and crazy personality. In the late apocalypse, people affectionately referred to her as a blind madman. The corners of Lin Yue's mouth slowly oozed blood, which fell into the eyes of the 3 siblings as indescribable pleasure. Next was Gu Jianlin, who knelt stiffly at his ex-wife's portrait and quickly kowtowed 10 heads. Gu Qinxue looked at her father, who should have given her fatherly love. Now, she was truly kneeling in front of her mother's portrait, with mixed feelings in her heart. She even felt that her sister was a bit excessive. Isn't this pushing her father further and further away? I don't know if in the future, if she is in any danger, will Dad also put down his body like saving a bastard? Humph, you 3 remember to go to the hospital the day after tomorrow, Gu Jianlin said angrily, patting his dirty suit pants. Dad, my mother can't even hear you from below. Gu Mingyue spoke slowly, with a devilish smile on her face. Gu Zihao's heart skipped a beat upon hearing this. Is it true that sister wants to completely break with her father? Gu Jianlin stared at Gu Mingyue. If the anger in his eyes could come out, he wished he could burn Gu Mingyue to death. He should have strangled her at first sight when he saw her as a girl, but now he's actually bullying her old man. Mingyue gently tugged at his sleeve, indicating that he had achieved this and should continue to persist. Thinking about his father-in-law's current position, he gave Gu Mingyue a fierce glance. Bang! 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 The farce is completely over. Gu Mingyue also did not want them, the dog man and woman, to continue contaminating the eyes in their mother's portrait and driving everyone away. In the empty living room, there was only Gu Mingyue left. She collected her portrait and went to the kitchen. The braised pork ribs in the pot have already cooled through. Crispy spicy fish slices, crispy oyster sauce lettuce, salty egg yolk chicken wings, cauliflower wrapped in eggplant juice, and water-boiled meat slices with red oil, all of which were carefully crafted by her past life and loved by her siblings. Now it's all her own. Gu Mingyue took out a slightly cool and delicious cake from the refrigerator, and her eyes lit up instantly. Light 24 candles and quickly blow them out. Then eagerly cut open the dense cream, revealing the cake embryo with fruit in it. Taking a sip, the milky aroma immediately permeated the entire mouth. It's so great. This bite of cake is just giving her an energy crystal source that condenses a level 10 black domain monster, and she won't even exchange it. 10 years. She hasn't eaten cake for a whole 10 years, she almost forgot what the cake tastes like. 2 months later, a meteorite shower landed on a blue star, causing global environmental degradation, tsunamis, floods, tornadoes, droughts, severe cold, and so on. There are also various humanoid monsters and bloodthirsty beasts emerging endlessly. What's even more terrifying is the black fields formed after the meteorites hit the ground in the future. Rough bread that scrapes the throat will be a good thing, only suitable for those with special abilities to eat. Ordinary people have to grab it to survive by gnawing on tree bark, catching cockroaches, and eating ants. Gu Mingyue ate the last piece of pork ribs, touched her slightly swollen belly, and smiled contentedly. It's been a long time since I've been so full. It turns out that happiness is such a simple thing. There are still 2 months left until the end of the world. She wants to hoard supplies crazily and never experience the feeling of hunger again. She stood up and walked to the mirror. The woman in the mirror was beautiful, with a small black mole in the middle of her slender eyebrows. This was her secret weapon in the apocalypse. Space. When she was playing in Gu's big garden as a child, a sesame-sized stone fell from the sky and hit her forehead, giving her an extra secret. In the future, this secret will rot in her stomach. Apart from the dead, no third person will know that she has such a unique space. Close your eyes, silently recite, and enter. When Gu Mingyue opened her eyes again, the surrounding scenery changed completely, indicating that she already existed in another space. In front of me, a thin mist with ripples divided the space here into 2 parts. One is the 100-acre metal floor she is stepping on, where the space and time are stationary. There is no need to worry about the supplies expiring here, and the space above her head can be infinitely stacked. On the other side of the mist is 100 acres of fertile black soil, covered with crispy green grass, and the lush green area looks vibrant. In the midst of the mist, there is a string of huge time digits counting down, indicating that there are still 2 hours and 24 minutes left for the living creatures to stay here. Below the countdown, there is also an aperture. There is a search box inside the aperture, and below the search box is a map depicting the entire blue star-sized mountains, rivers, and city shops. This is a space teleportation map device gifted by beginners. The starting and ending points can only be traveled back and forth once a day, making it a life-saving tool for Gu Mingyue. Master. A pleasant bass came from behind, ethereal and clear as if hearing it could soothe all kinds of worries in my heart. Chapter 4. Buying Lottery Tickets. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gu Mingyue turned her head and saw a super handsome guy with a tall figure of 1.9 meters. Skin is snow-white, eyebrows fly into the temples, eyes look like stars, lips are standard M-shaped, pink, tender, making it easy to kiss at first glance. Wide shoulders and narrow waist, from facial features to body shape, every aspect seems perfectly flawless, without any flaws. The only downside is that it's not real. It is Gu Mingyue's space elf. Although it does not warm the bed or even has no emotions, it has the most precious quality in the apocalypse. Absolute loyalty. Looking at the AI-like humanoid object, Gu Mingyue finally felt a hint of warmth in her eyes. Xinghe, give me the most detailed inventory list for the apocalypse, the kind that I can squander for 100 years. Countless streams of light flashed through Xinghe's pitch-black eyes, reflecting the rapid movement of data. In less than a minute, Xinghe lifted his white uniform, revealing his 8 abdominal muscles, and his large hand with distinct joints mysteriously penetrated into the skin. Take out a stack of A4 paper from inside. The table is divided into different tables based on clothing, food, housing, and transportation, which are filled with different types of material names. Gu Mingyue smiled and took over the list of supplies, saying, "Thank you. Xinghe, thank you very much. Otherwise, I would have had to think about the names of all the supplies for a long time." After speaking, I lightly patted the abdominal muscles that Star River couldn't cover in time twice with my hand. They were full of elasticity, just like real human skin. I was really curious where these A4 papers existed. How did it come out again? The entire process lasts for half a minute. Until the owner completely let go of the salty pig's hand, Xinghe lowered his head and silently buttoned the golden buttons on his uniform, with a perfect and serious expression on his face like a statue. Out of space, Gu Mingyue walked into the living room with a list of different types of clothing, searching for a phone. After her mother passed away, she became an e-commerce model to pay off her debts, which made her a little popular. Now she has opened her own clothing online store. She dialed the purchaser's phone and said, "Xiao Wu, I have sent you a full category clothing list. Starting tomorrow, you will start wholesale according to the materials on the list. 100 polar down jackets, 1,000 quick-drying clothes, 200 jackets, assault jackets, windbreakers, cotton pants, bras. 10,000 pairs of rubber gloves." He roughly looked at it and faxed over a paper full of various clothing names, including agricultural boots and romantic clothes. "Boss, our online store specializes in light luxury women's clothing. Is it possible to suddenly purchase down jackets, swimsuits, and agricultural boots with such a large span?" "Well, I plan to expand the scale of the online store. For each item on the list, we will first batch 20 pieces to check the quality. If the quality is good, we will make up for it according to the quantity on the list. I will send you the warehouse address tomorrow." Wu Feng thinks he should change his name to Wuyu now. As is well known, online stores first produce a batch and then contact factories for mass production based on sales volume. Listen to the boss, is she going to buy everything and put it in the warehouse first? What if the new online store hasn't been applied for yet, and it's unsold? Feeling the questioning on the other end of the phone, Gu Mingyue continued to add, "Xiao Wu, starting from tomorrow, I will increase your salary by 3 times. If you complete the procurement within half a month, I will give you a bonus of 100,000 yuan. If you complete the 30,000 yuan bonus 1 month ago, and if you complete it in 2 months, you will receive only 3 times your salary without any bonus. 100,000 bonus. It's almost equivalent to his annual salary." "Okay, boss, I promise to complete the procurement task as soon as possible." Wu Feng immediately agreed, fearing that the boss would get angry and suddenly change his mind. "We have already completed 1 project, including clothing, food, housing, and transportation." Gu Mingyue checked the bank deposits and found that the total number of various bank cards is over 5 million. If she carefully calculated and bought enough supplies to live for 100 years, it would be difficult for her to be as nourishing as before the end of the world. Gu's stock has not been transferred yet, and if sold, it would cost approximately 500 million. Dealing with stocks takes time, and she doesn't want to wait. As her thoughts flipped, she thought of something. Lottery. Her only grand prize in her past life was 3 digits away from the first prize, which made her feel regretful for a long time. Today is Friday, the day after tomorrow is the day for the red and blue ball draw. Mingyue immediately grabbed her ID card and phone, and ran non-stop to the lottery station. After writing 7 numbers, she bought 99 directly. It's quite unusual for people to buy a single group number and add so many times. The lottery owner couldn't help but ask, "Miss, is all this money for only one account?" Why did you buy another account that didn't win?" She seemed confident, and the lottery owner didn't say much. He typed out the ticket and handed it over to Mingyue. He doesn't think this group of numbers will win. If this little girl knew she spent so much money and didn't win a single number, she wouldn't regret buying so many. After returning, Mingyue drove out in a truck directly. In order to save costs, she specially took the B.class exam and carried her own goods. I went to the night market under the guise of buying dinner for my employees. Stinky tofu, roasted cold noodles, roasted potato peels, crispy 5 flowers, roasted chestnuts in sugar-coated heated sand, snowball hawthorn, chicken wing steamed rice, bingtenghulu, sweet plum and sweet potato strips, oyster omelette, purple potato and taro barrel, roll yangpi. 100 snacks were ordered. Both the food stall owners and aunties smiled and said, "This is the first time I've met a boss who is so considerate of his employees." With a flick of his hand, I've given more side dishes. Mingyue was also happy to make money. This potato shredded pancake has a lot of portions. I'll thank my employees, auntie. If it tastes good, I'll order it again in 2 months. Auntie, could you prepare more ingredients? The uncles and aunties of the snack stand promised everything, and some of them fell for it. 2 months later, they would silently thank a female boss on July 3rd for reminding them to prepare more ingredients, so that they wouldn't be too anxious in the early apocalypse. Taking advantage of the opportunity to close the carriage, Mingyue packed all the snacks into the space. Detected the emergence of new supplies in the space. As a conscientious space butler, Xinhe walked straight to the snack with his long legs. Squat down and neatly placed them on the shelves that were discarded when Mingyue's online store restocked. Seeing that the shelf was a bit crooked, he carefully straightened it. After everything was sorted out, he returned to his original position and waited carefully for the next instructions. After a while, 1,000-layer cake, tiger skin cake, cheese cake, mousse cake, box cake, and basque cake appeared in the space. Shui Mainyang, puff, egg yolk cake, walnut cake, matcha spiral cake, tiger skin pork floss roll, cookie, macaron, caramel pudding, snow cake, tiramisu, choux fry, Swiss roll, French stick, bullhorn bun, honey cake, date cake, donut, apple pie, brownie, durian cake, egg tart, towel roll. There are also various flavors of bread, pudding, jam, and cookies. The tall and handsome figure began to bustle on the shelf again. Mingyue drove around a dozen cake shops and emptied all the remaining dessert inventory for the evening. Every cake owner happily bid farewell to Mingyue, the good god. The next day, the handsome little girl who went to the cake shop to buy desserts was surprised to find that today's cake and bread tasted exceptionally good, just like freshly baked ones. Chapter 5. Appointment of Customized Safe House. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The summer sun rises exceptionally early and shines brightly outside before 5 o'clock. It's really hot this day. The old man holding a Tai Chi sword in the park complained as he slowly gestured. He had a sweat-absorbing towel hanging around his neck and a large area of sweat on his chest. I woke up from the heat this morning. My husband took a thermometer and said, "Wow. It's already 40 degrees. There used to be no such heating method in the morning. It's all caused by these people now, who only know how to produce and don't know how to protect the environment. I think the world might end someday." It's a prophecy, Gu Mingyue thought to herself as she ran around. Now there are signs of the beginning of the apocalypse around the world, and as a flower country person, she really wants to tell everyone to be prepared for the apocalypse. But unfortunately, she is just an ordinary person who has not even met the mayor of Black Tiger City. The post-apocalyptic comments can be found online by everyone, with more jokes and less genuine concern. Last night while scrolling through a short video, she saw several comments that accurately predicted the end of the world. She followed suit and commented on a few post-apocalyptic guidelines that need to be emphasized after the end of the world arrives. I hope someone remembers it in their heart, and this is also the greatest effort she can do as an ordinary person. After warming up, Gu Mingyue returned to her room and waved her dagger in the air 1,000 times. After waving her knife, she flashed back into space and placed 8 smart tennis servers in different directions on the grass. Gu Mingyue stood in the middle, constantly dodging and training her reaction speed. Just as he dodged the tennis balls in 8 directions, dozens of tennis balls fell from above his head like a celestial maiden scattering flowers. Xinghe poured out a basket of tennis balls and elegantly floated away in a white robe. Gu Mingyue dodged awkwardly while shouting that it was not enough to make the tennis players come more fiercely. Upon seeing this, Xinghe faced the innocent star's eye and increased his serve frequency. After hitting a ball, countless balls seemed to have long eyes and were hitting people. Gu Mingyue gasped for breath and waved his hand, causing Xinghe to press the pause button. Now her physical fitness is significantly inferior to before her rebirth, and she can't hide for just an hour. Before, she was blind and avoided bullets. Out of space, Gu Mingyue quickly ordered several takeout to treat herself, including pizza, hamburgers, whole family barrels, grilled steak all on the table. Eating breakfast while contacting the owner of a customized safe house online. Gu Mingyue's house is located on the outskirts of the city. The top floor of Unit 4, Building 4, Mingyue Mansion Community is 1701. There is only one household across from it, and there is also a flat-roofed attic with a super large terrace as a gift. You can grow vegetables and flowers, and the attic terrace is always 150 square meters. Except for a university in the east, it is almost far from the crowd. There is a wide river nearby that is not worried about drought. There is a high mountain over 1,000 meters above sea level by the river that is not afraid of floods. There is also a deserted air raid shelter at the foot of the mountain, which is the best post-apocalyptic first stronghold. Upon seeing the phone call, Gu Mingyue spoke up and said, "Hello, I want to customize a safe house. The windows should be bulletproof glass, the walls should be reinforced with steel plates, the doors should have the same safety factor as the bank, and the highest level air filtration system should be installed. I also need to build a disinfection and isolation room near the door, and money is not a problem." The person in charge of customizing a safe house quickly arrived at the Mingyue Mansion community based on the address on the phone, inspected the building structure, and confirmed that it could withstand steel plates before starting construction. Just as the person in charge of building a safe house confirmed the housing plan, Gu Mingyue's phone began to buzz and vibrate. It's Wu Feng, an online store purchaser. He is quick in handling matters and has already arrived at the clothing wholesale city to start discussing wholesale matters. He is chasing Gu Mingyue for a deposit. Everything is going on in full swing. After Gu Mingyue transferred the money, she contacted the warehouse administrator who managed the online store and directly paid the money. She asked him to rent 10 more large warehouses nearby and handed them over directly to Wu Feng. When the final payment was made, she was contacted again. Time flies by, and in the blink of an eye, it's Sunday. As soon as dawn broke, Gu Jianshu began a series of life-threatening reminders, and the ringing of his phone rang in Gu Mingyue's ear. She took off her blindfold in displeasure and saw that her bank card had received 500 million yuan and her remaining deposit was 5013555289, which made her mood happy. Yesterday she called Gu Jianshu and complained that the transfer of equity was troublesome, so she asked him to discount 500 million yuan and transfer it directly to her account. It's just 500 million yuan, Gu Jianshu is eager for Gu Mingyue not to buy stocks. As long as Xiao Tian's illness is cured, his high-ranking father-in-law will agree to the new project he is developing in the city center. Unless my father-in-law falls off the horse, the stock value will only continue to increase like a snowball. Gu Mingyue's short-sighted behavior made him very proud. My ex-wife's child did indeed follow her, equally timid and lacking foresight. Gu Mingyue was eating soup dumplings and checking the chat records on her phone. There are curses from Gu Jianshu for not coming to the hospital yet, various prayers from Lin Yue, and apology messages from Gu Zihao inside. There is also Gu Qinshue's cautious thoughts hidden in her caring words, while telling her not to be too busy and paying attention to her body, while also talking about the drawbacks of donating bone marrow. What 1,000 people and faces, each with their own devils. She can't wait to see the good play at the hospital. When Gu Mingyue arrived at the hospital, she saw everyone anxiously walking back and forth in the lobby. To everyone's surprise, Gu Mingyue was very punctual. At the moment Gu Zihao and Gu Qinshue saw her, their faces suddenly became very ugly. Gu Mingyue knew the thoughts of these two people, but they only wanted her to be a villain. If they politely refused, anyway, the equity confirmation letter had been signed, and the money could still fly away. But she didn't let them go as planned, with a Virgin Mary-like smile on her face, and all the examinations were very cooperative. Anyway, it's not her who truly succeeded in the styling. If she doesn't come, wouldn't it be missing out on a great show? Seeing Gu Mingyue obediently being manipulated by the doctor, Gu Zihao and his wife could no longer reluctantly extend their arms and let the needle enter their blood vessels. Gu Jianshu and his son were wealthy and found a famous private hospital in Huaguo for their precious son. Gu Mingyue found the most comfortable sofa in the lounge and lazily sat down. Opening the freshly ordered takeout, a slightly spicy potato powder is placed in the middle, with seaweed rice on the left and fried chicken and a large cup of milk tea filled with ingredients on the right. Lin Yue couldn't bear to see her so leisurely, but she didn't dare to say anything hard. She could only politely suggest, Mingyue, these things are too unhealthy. You should eat less in the future. No, I'm afraid I won't be able to eat anymore. Gu Mingyue said, her mouth bulging and her head not lifted. The speaker has no intention, the listener has a heart. Upon hearing these words, Lin Yue's eyes turned red and she cursed wildly in her heart. What does Gu Mingyue mean? Afraid she won't be able to eat it again in the future. I'm clearly looking forward to not being able to eat it in the future, right? Why wasn't she the one who got sick, this vicious and despicable woman? Chapter 6. Hospital Farce. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gu Jianshu saw Lin Yue's shaky tears and felt a little heartbroken. He cursed at Gu Mingyue. Gu Mingyue, what if you succeed in matching? Don't eat these junk foods. Can bone marrow be injected into Xiaotian's body? Are you trying to kill him? As he reached out to remove the delicacies from Gu Mingyue's table, he was grabbed by Gu Mingyue and the oil stains on his disposable gloves rubbed half of his sleeve. Gu Mingyue raised her beautiful eyebrows and eyes and said nonchalantly, let's go, I'll go. Lin Yue quickly pulled Gu Jianlin away from Gu Mingyue, but the matching result had not yet come out, so she could endure it for the sake of her son. Gu Jianlin cursed and took off his shirt stained with oil, feeling extremely angry in his heart. For the sake of his sick son, he has been suffering from old sins these past few days. When the doctor wearing a white coat came out with the results, he saw a pile of food in front of Gu Mingyue and was slightly stunned, then quickly regained his professional expression. It must be another terrible ethical drama from a wealthy family, otherwise normal people wouldn't have such a good appetite when they know their loved ones are sick. Lin Yue was extremely anxious and excitedly asked, Doctor, did you succeed in the matching? Gu Qinshue came early to show off and didn't eat. Seeing so much food in front of Gu Mingyue, her stomach was already growling. She looked eagerly, hoping that Gu Mingyue could see her pitiful gaze and take the initiative to share some food with her. After Gu Zihao was kicked out by Gu Mingyue, he was taken back to the Gu family by Gu Jianlin. The decoration there was grand, exuding wealth and elegance everywhere. But this morning, Lin Yue rushed over in a hurry and didn't ask the chef to cook breakfast. Others were under the eaves and didn't dare to mention it. Now she is so hungry that her chest is pressing against her back. It seemed like he had forgotten about the previous beating and didn't care about washing his hands. He reached out and grabbed the seaweed bun on the table. At this moment, the doctor announced the results. "Congratulations, this patient is very lucky." Surprisingly, 2 of the 3 relatives have successfully matched, one is Gu Zihao and the other is Gu Qinxue. Your relatives should discuss who will donate bone marrow so that we can operate as soon as possible. Gu Zihao's hand, which was extended in mid-air, immediately stopped and was quickly caught by Lin Yue, holding it in his hand. Hunger had flown away, and he struggled with his eyes, trying to pull his hand out of Lin Yue's hand, but failed. "Howard, you will help Xiaotian, won't you? As long as you donate your bone marrow, we will take you back to the Gu family, and you will have a share of the Gu family's property in the future." Lin Yue looked at him earnestly, and her title had become particularly affectionate. "I'm not the only one who has successfully matched, don't just beg me. Second sister is kind-hearted, you ask her to donate." Gu Zihao withdrew his hand in disgust, he didn't want to save that illegitimate child. Lin Yue looked eagerly at Gu Qinxue, forcing her to step back until her back pressed against the wall. "Auntie, you. Don't look at me, I can't donate." Gu Qinxue's weak and uncontrollable body trembled like a sieve of bran at this moment. "Swear, why can't you donate? Auntie knows you're getting married, so you don't have to worry about the dowry. Auntie will give you everything and she will definitely marry you off in a grand manner. As long as you help Xiaotian, Auntie will agree to anything you want," Lin Yue said, shedding 2 tears of emotion. This is not her fake crying, she is really happy to see her genius son, who was admitted to a prestigious university at the age of 15, saved. When his son recovers and reaches adulthood, he will serve as the CEO and chairman of Gu Group. He will be the youngest CEO of Gu Group and her greatest pride. Seeing Gu Jianlin and Lin Yue really placing their hopes on themselves, a slight crack appeared on Gu Qinxue's gentle face, and her heart trembled. "I can't do it, I'm pregnant." Gu Qinxue's face turned red as she spoke with a faint mosquito voice. Pop pop pop. Gu Mingyue extended her fair and beautiful hands, applauding and cheering for this wonderful scene. "Gu Qinxue, you're really good. Mom is proud of you below." Upon hearing this, Gu Qinxue's flushed face became even more unbearable. She looked at Gu Mingyue with a resentful expression, thinking to herself, why wasn't she the one who succeeded in the matching? She even caused the incident of unmarried pregnancy to be exposed, causing her to lose face and die. Gu Zihao, who was standing beside him, turned around and exploded. He reached out his finger and clung it to Gu Qinxue's thin shoulder. "Surprisingly, you're pregnant. So what type are you going to match? Wow, you're working together to design me." The 3 of them went from begging and cursing to gradually pushing and pulling their heads, and Gu Jianlin impatiently tried to persuade Gu Zihao. As a result, he was beaten face to face, causing nosebleeds. The billionaire boss was beaten twice in just 3 days, covered his nose, and his face turned as black as a pot. What does madness look like, unfilial son? A foul language output overturned Gu Jianchu's decades-long image as a gentleman CEO. Gu Mingyue's beautiful eyes were wide and round, accompanied by a good show and enjoying her meal. At this moment, she even wanted to take some melon seeds and popcorn out of the space. "In the future, I will be your biological mother, and you will be my biological son." "Who is your own son?" "I won't do it." Gu Zihao roared. "He's not stupid." After spending the night together, he realized that Gu Jianshu didn't care about him at all, and even didn't care much about that illegitimate child. Facing Gu Mingyue's lively and beautiful peach blossom eyes, he seemed to have found a savior and quickly approached her, hoping that Gu Mingyue could take him out of this hospital full of disinfectant smell. "Sister, help me, I don't want to have my bone marrow drawn." Gu Mingyue also ate well at this moment, collected the remaining garbage, and wiped the table clean with alcohol wipes. She looked like a wealthy young lady. "Since the styling was successful, you can save that illegitimate child." "It's a matter of no effort," she sincerely suggested. "I won't save you, sister. I was wrong. I shouldn't have said you should accept caregiving." Upon hearing these words, Gu Mingyue had no waves in her eyes and continued to collect garbage as if she had not heard them, ignoring everything. "My son was finally saved, but Lin Yue couldn't let go." She comforted Gu Jianlin and helped him deceive Gu Zihao. He also promised to give a large dowry to Gu Qinshue, as long as Gu Zihao agreed to donate it. Gu Qinshue quickly joined the persuasion. Seeing the struggling expression in Gu Zihao's eyes gradually fade away, Gu Mingyue elegantly smoothed out the wrinkles on her skirt and turned around to leave the center of this farce with dignity. Just opened the glass door of the hospital. Gu Mingyue noticed a middle-aged beauty in her 30s, wearing a hip-wrap skirt, half squatting on the hospital steps with a pale face, crying and shouting something. She used to be very enthusiastic about helping others. Now she silently moved towards the far left side of the steps, avoiding the person in the middle of the steps, until she heard the person call out a familiar name and stopped. "Gu Jianshu, you scumbag, even killed your own child. You're really not one thing. Lin Yue, you slut, you have lost all your conscience for your short-lived son." Chapter 7. Online Shopping and Stockpiling. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Gu Mingyue became interested and carefully observed the middle-aged beauty. At first glance, she was startled. This was not her scumbag's personal secretary, hiding a mistress. Little sister, you are crying so bitterly. What kind of injustice have you encountered?" Gu Mingyue quickly took a few steps forward and gently helped the woman up. Wang Manman looked at the woman in front of him with a beautiful appearance and a dusty demeanor, looking at her with a concerned expression, feeling even more aggrieved. All things stand out with one mind. It turns out that Wang Manman is a seasoned female licking dog. As a diligent and responsible fourth person, she has always been very measured. Work hard and never excessively explore the boss's personal matters. Usually, Gu Jianshu finds Xiao Wu and Xiao Lu, and she also helps to cover up and deceive Lin Yue. When I was with Gu Jianshu, I always brought things and took medicine. I never dared to get pregnant because I was afraid it would cause trouble and annoy Gu Jianshu. But starting from the first 2 months, Gu Jianshu stopped her from taking safety measures, saying that he wanted to have his own child with her, and also saying that he felt sorry for Wang Manman for following him inexplicably for so many years. A few days ago, when he learned that she was pregnant, Gu Jianshu kindly pulled her to the hospital and thought she was doing a amniocentesis under her good name. Wang Manman was immersed in it, thinking that he really wanted to be Mrs. Gu. I didn't wait for a chance to get a chance, but I saw Lin Yue with a gloomy face and a bunch of ferocious people, pulling her hair and beating her until she miscarried, unable to conceive for life. During this period, she vaguely heard about the failed match, and then she realized that she was being exploited. Later, she was even fired by the Gu Group, and no company in the entire Black Tiger City dared to hire her. It's not enough for you to be deceived and biased by them, and you've even taken on an unborn child and a job. What a pity. Gu Mingyue frowned slightly and defended her. Little sister, if I were you, I would definitely report it under my real name and ruin their reputation. After a few words of indignation, Gu Mingyue exchanges contact information with her, and her sister calls for a long time before leaving. The evening was the day for the lottery draw, and Gu Mingyue dared not waste her time. Along the way, we ordered 100 pieces of spicy mix, spicy hot pot, potato flour, crossing the bridge noodles, chongqing xiaomian, nanchang rice noodles, luosafen, hot and sour noodles, rice noodles, seaweed steamed rice, Korean fried chicken, purple rice and vegetable roll, little pan rice, pineapple rice, huajia powder, cold noodles, dongbei rice bun, zhajiangmian, hot dry noodles, iron plate fried rice, dandan noodles, beef noodles, donkey meat steamed dumplings, and mao kai. Xinghe, like himself, can stay outside the space for over 2 hours, but Gu Mingyue asked him to stay outside to receive takeout. She took out her lottery ticket and focused on watching in front of the TV. It has to be said that having a decathlon space butler who can freely enter and exit the space like her is really convenient. 1, 8, 11 The 7 strings of numbers completely overlapped, and Gu Mingyue happily jumped up from the sofa, jumping into the arms of a person as delicate as a BJD doll, and gave him a hard kiss on his porcelain white face. "Bo, nice touch. Xinghe, I won the first prize, haha, over 500 million yuan. With so much money, I never dreamed that I would be so rich in the future." Gu Mingyue laughed with her hips crossed, disregarding her image. When Xinghe saw her let go, his expression humanized and showed a worried expression, afraid that she would fall. He quickly extended his arms, wrapped around her buttocks, and held her firmly in his arms. "Congratulations, master." Xinghe looked sincere. "With so much money, you can gather more supplies, and your life in the end world is more secure." Gu Mingyue lightly patted Xinghe's hand, gesturing to let go and jump into his embrace. "Don't call me master. If someone hears about us, they might think we have some kind of abnormal relationship. In the future, they will call me boss and explain to the public that you are my hired bodyguard." "Okay, boss." Xinghe lowered his pretty eyebrows and eyes, respectfully passing by. The 1.9-meter-tall man looked like a hard-working little daughter. Law. "I always feel uneasy when the money is not exchanged into my bank card." Put on the doll costume, Gu Mingyue entered the space, opened the space shuttle map, located the location of the lottery, and directly transmitted it to a women's restroom near the lottery station. After winning the big prize, I took a taxi and circled around a few times to shake off the reporters waiting for the interview, then entered the women's restroom and shuttled back. With over 500 million yuan of tax deducted from the grand prize, there are still 480 million yuan left, plus 500 million yuan received in the morning, almost 1 billion yuan. You can buy it without hesitation. Returning to the room, Gu Mingyue was wearing silk pajamas and comfortably lying on the neatly paved bed of Xinghe. I clicked on the 1699 wholesale software and started wholesale 10,000 lighters, which cost me 3,200 yuan. A week before the end of the world, Blue Star encountered a small dot-scale meteorite shower with an extremely wide range, followed by a black rain and monster infestations that devoured people, animals, and tree bark every day. The broken transformers were left unattended, leading to widespread power outages worldwide. She must buy more light source equipment. 1,000 magnesium flints, 500 flashlights, 10,000 candles, batteries, energy-saving lights, solar lights. Daily necessities are also essential, including 10,000 bags of toilet paper, 5,000 bags of sanitary napkins, safety pants, cushions, face towels, wet wipes, toiletries, thermometers, all kinds of vegetable seeds, flower seeds, fruit seedlings, rice, flour, grains, oil, sugar, salt, soy sauce, vinegar, tobacco, alcohol, tea, etc. are added to the shopping cart. Kitchen knives, scissors, pan, multi-function electric cooker, soybean milk machine, bread maker, oven and other kitchen supplies shall be purchased for 50 primers. Collect 10,000 pieces of bowls, chopsticks, ladles, and pots first. According to the shopping list planned by Xinghe, Gu Mingyue placed orders in order, but they were all under-approved. I bought 300 sets of moisturizing lotion, moisturizing cream, lipstick, eye cream, anti-freezing and anti-cracking hand cream, body milk and sunscreen. After the apocalypse, the natural environment undergoes tremendous changes, and when the world is frozen, even psychics need to rely on external forces to protect their skin barriers. The rest of the cosmetics are all beauty taxes, and the money needs to be spent on the cutting edge, there is no need to spend it. 10,000 sets of toothbrushes, toothpaste, and 1,000 bottles of shampoo, shower gel, facial cleanser, and hand sanitizer are basic care products that are sufficient for the end of the world. Laundry powder, soap, and soap, stock up to 1,000 pieces at a low price with good cleaning effects. Softeners, laundry detergent, 100 types of beads. 5,000 pieces of disinfection products such as iodine, alcohol, disinfectant, cotton swabs, and water purification tablets. Buy 10 items first, including electric fans, hair dryers, air conditioners, air conditioning fans, water purifiers, small sun heaters, electric radiators, oil tinctures, electric mattresses, refrigerators, humidifiers, etc. The high price of household appliances made it the preferred target for zero-yuan purchases, with no one paying attention in the early post-apocalyptic period. 1,000 bags of instant food, including luoxifen, hot and sour powder, Xinjiang rice noodles, self-heating hot pot, self-heating rice, etc. 200 boxes of instant noodles with various flavors, 100 boxes of compressed biscuits, and 1,000 packages of pre-made dishes with various flavors. Shovel, hoe, dustpan, sickle, axe, rake plow, pollinator, electric saw, self-help seedling raising and inserting device, etc., 100 pieces of various small farm tools. Fresh food, digital products, home decoration and building materials, outdoor sports products, and so on, were not discontinued until they spent 200 million yuan. Gu Mingyue shook her sore and swollen fingers, and it was already past midnight. Perhaps due to the aromatherapy that Xinghe has lit up on the bedside table, Gu Mingyue, who usually sleeps lightly, had a rare and complete night's sleep. The next morning, Gu Mingyue changed into a bohemian-style dress and entered the space. She was very satisfied to see that various snacks and takeout were neatly placed and even labeled by Xinghe, and the grass on the other side of the space was also renovated by Xinghe. What a diligent and virtuous butler. I quickly contacted the shelf owner and ordered various types of shelves of different sizes and lengths. Keep it in the warehouse for now, wait for time to allow Xinghe to retrieve it for installation and continue working. Gu Mingyue is wearing a sun hat and sunglasses. In her past life, she planned to take her younger brother and sister on a global trip during the summer vacation, so she applied for her passport and visa in advance. Now, she happens to be traveling abroad while hoarding goods. Chapter 8. Foreign Stockpiling. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this moment, the Gu family is putting on a great performance. Lin Yue greeted Gu Zihao with warmth and care, as if they were both mother and son. Gu Jianlin also promised him that in the future, his family property would not leave any money for Gu Mingyue and Gu Qinxue, but rather for him and Xiaotian. Gu Zihao was still young, so he reluctantly agreed to donate his bone marrow. Even at his strong request, the Gu family held a super-large parent-child return banquet on the same day. Of course, Gu Mingyue is not on the invitation list. Lin Yue and Gu Jianlin were dressed in appropriate custom-made dresses, with stiff smiles at the corners of their mouths, and introduced Gu Zihao, who was wearing a branded suit but couldn't hide his rustic demeanor, to various relatives and friends on stage. Gu Qinxue pulled her bald boyfriend, who was almost 40 years old, and smiled and chatted with a group of middle-aged men who were also bloated, casually showing off her limited knowledge while toasting. Everyone's goals seem to have been achieved, and there is nothing unsatisfactory. Until the appearance of a circle of friends broke this false harmony. A golden beach, a deep blue sea. Gu Mingyue, wearing a straw hat, lay leisurely on a leisure chair with a freshly opened coconut in her hand. The Hawaiian-style long skirt swayed in the wind, revealing her fair and slender ankles. There are also many handsome European and American guys wearing swim trunks playing beach volleyball by the seaside. Between jumps, their smooth muscle lines are highlighted, and their blue eyes are as clear as the seawater. Occasionally, a few handsome guys would chat with her, take photos with her, and introduce a lot of foreign customs and traditions. Moments are still being updated, and Gu Mingyue's travel photos have been scrolling through the screen for a long time, occupying a small portion of the memory of family and friends. Seagulls skimmed over their heads with the sea breeze. Gu Mingyue was wearing a life jacket, with a smile as bright as the sun. She and the handsome foreign guy cast a net into the sea to fish. Faced with a boat full of fish, they clapped their hands excitedly to celebrate. Lobster in kangaroo country, wine in noodle country, salmon in kid country, foie gras in perfume country, reba in warring bear country. Images of scenery, cuisine, and handsome men from various countries have emerged one by one in my social circle. Xiao Tian is still struggling to survive in his hospital bed. Gu Mingyue, why could she be so carefree and happy? But Lin Yue is trying to curry favor with a fool here. This seemed to have become the last straw that crushed Lin Yue. Her fake smile collapsed and she threw her phone to the ground in front of many guests. Red-soled high heels stomped hard on the broken phone. Ah. Bitch. Go to hell. Gu Jianlin's face turned pale as he greeted the waiter to take Lin Yue away. She has been under too much pressure recently due to Xiaotian's incident, so don't stimulate her anymore. Lin Yue's father looked at Gu Jianlin with a cold face, and then mockingly glanced at Gu Zihao, who was not on the table. I don't know if I was stimulated by this gaze or influenced by Gu Mingyue's social circle. Gu Zihao held his phone and muttered in a low voice without any insight, asking Gu Jianlin to accompany him on a global trip in the future. When is it? You only know how to play. Pop. As his high-ranking father-in-law's face became increasingly ugly, Gu Jianlin slapped the approaching big face hard. The banquet of singing and laughing ended absurdly due to one person's circle of friends. Numerous guests whispered silently as they left. Gu Jianlin felt that he had never been so embarrassed before. He even felt for a moment that marrying Lin Yue was a mistake, and it was better to have an ex-wife. Although the company is thriving every day, he still has to look at his father-in-law's face, his wife's face, and even his son and daughter don't take him seriously. Gu Qinxue is also playing coquettish with her boyfriend and planning to go abroad for her honeymoon, but her bald boyfriend refused her proposal on the grounds that her child is about to start school. My heart began to feel unbalanced. Why didn't my sister take her on a trip? Instead, she flirted with a bunch of men and was carefree, leaving her to face this old man with cigarette stains. Gu Mingyue didn't know that just because of these dozen or so social circles, the relationship that the Gu family finally managed to ease has broken down again. At this moment, she is bargaining with the boss of Barefoot Country. 1,000 kilograms durian, 2,000 kilograms mango, 500 kilograms guava, 500 kilograms jackfruit, 1,000 kilograms mango, lotus mist, snakeskin, rambutan, sakya fruit, small pineapple. Boss, can you give me a 20% discount on all the things I've bought? The boss took out a calculator and calculated it. The profit margin is quite large, and it seems like there is going to be a fire in the sky recently. The fruits cannot be stored at all, and the number of wholesale people has decreased by more than half. Now encountering a big fool engaged in wholesale, I had to sell it immediately and quickly nodded in agreement. Gu Mingyue drove a large truck and found an empty corner. Her hands covered the fruits, and the whole load of fruits disappeared. She glanced back, forth, left, and right again, confirming that there were no figures, and then withdrew the large truck into the space, followed by herself. Come to the space shuttle map. The delicate white fingers quickly input the address of the ugly country on the light screen. In the blink of an eye, she arrived at the ugly country thousands of miles away. The plane is too slow, so it's better to use a space cheat device to save time and money. John of the ugly country has been waiting for a long time. He sells waterless toilets, and his daily sales are pitifully low. Today, a bigwig named out to buy a burning toilet. He couldn't sleep even at night because he was so happy, drinking 2 cups of coffee and waiting for someone to come. Seeing the pretty Asian face approaching, he quickly welcomed it with joy. Unleashing maximum sales potential, introducing to her. This toilet is definitely the first choice in the apocalypse. It is dual-purpose for electrical purposes and does not require any water at all. He opened the toilet lid, which contained a funnel-shaped stainless steel bucket, and placed wax paper inside the toilet. John continued, after using the toilet, just press the button at the back, and dirt will fall into the combustion chamber in the lower half of the toilet. After half an hour of high-temperature combustion, the excrement will turn into carbon ash. John lightly pressed on the bottom of the toilet, took out the stainless steel box for storing garbage at the bottom, and showed it to Mingyue. This is the ash storage box. Not bad, I need 10 of these toilets. Happiness comes too suddenly, someone even wants such a shabby toilet. Buy 10 more as soon as you make a purchase. Under John's enthusiastic recommendation, Mingyue bought another 20 waterless biodegradable toilets. John just thinks Mingyue is really foolish. These toilets are almost unused except for those traveling in RVs. He is in a hurry to find a wasteland to solve it. Isn't it more effective than these IQ taxes? Unfortunately, he didn't know that insects in the post-apocalyptic world would become like sperm, drilling holes and defecating comfortably in the future would be a luxury. The toilets that Mingyue bought now are 10,000 times more useful than cat litter convenience bags in the apocalypse. After buying the toilet, Mingyue went to pull the renovated off-road vehicle. The explosion-proof tires are paired with thick steel plates, and the front of the car is also equipped with a bulldozer shovel. The body of the car is covered with a layer of pointed steel spikes, which is majestic. You can knock down hundreds of exotic beasts in the apocalypse at a glance. Chapter 9. Foreign Distresses. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. There are many riots in ugly country, and there are as many shops selling firearms as McDonald's. Ordinary outdoor goods supermarkets have firearms clearly tied to display shelves with chain locks. Mingyue looks very envious, but unfortunately she doesn't have a green card and can't buy it through legitimate channels. After many twists and turns, I finally reached out to a private reseller. The night is intense, and the streets of Chou Kingdom are not like those of Hua Kingdom, with night markets lined up and bustling crowds filled with surveillance cameras. This place is very deserted. There was even a terrifying sense of loneliness, as if a bad person holding a gun could burst out at any moment in the dark corner. Chris took Mingyue through the sparse residential villa area and arrived at a deserted house with even fewer people. The white rolling shutter door opened, and there were no firearms inside, but more than 10 powerful foreign men. They saw the door open and quickly crouched through the rolling shutter door, holding automatic rifles and forming a surrounding the two. Little beauty, raise your hands. Chris, who was beside Mingyue, quickly pulled out a pistol and pointed it at Mingyue's temple, smiling wickedly. 11 dark guns were aimed at the weak girl, and if she dared to move around, at such a close distance, she could be shot into a sieve, and maybe her brain could explode into pieces. Facing the muzzle, Mingyue's delicate face remained calm. Mr. Chris, I gave you all the deposit, can't you keep your word? Mingyue's voice was slightly heavy, and her expression remained calm and indifferent, as if she didn't take these guns seriously. Ha ha ha, Asian girls are innocent. You came to our headquarters alone as a woman, and I just kept my promises. What can you do? Chris saw the calm expression on the woman's face, but he felt that it was all a bluff, even casually whistling. If it were an ordinary person, being struck by more than a dozen guns would have scared them to death. Mingyue is a person who has truly experienced the mountains and seas of corpses, and has been reborn once. The end of the world has not yet begun, and there is no benefit in dealing with corpses without crystal nuclei, but some people love to seek death in advance and have no contractual spirit. She once again tried to persuade helplessly, "Mr. Chris, I will advise you once again, hoping that you can sell the gun to me according to the transaction agreement. To be honest, you guys, I used to be able to kill them all with my eyes closed." Gu Mingyue's beautiful eyes worked hard to show a hint of pity and kindness, sincerely hoping that Chris would agree to her request and not delay each other's time. Chris looked at her serious expression and was almost intimidated. He glanced at Gu Mingyue's slender wrist and the plump waist that one hand seemed to be able to grip, feeling that his worries were meaningless. The other 10 strong men also scanned once, and then burst into thunderous laughter, adding a touch of popularity to the lonely homestead. "Ha ha ha, this Asian girl said she could kill us all with her eyes closed." A strong man laughed and gasped. "No, I can't laugh because my stomach hurts." She couldn't have run out of the mental hospital, could she? Another strong man covered his stomach and smiled, his teeth out of sight. "Maybe he really ran out of the mental hospital, otherwise could he come to us alone to buy weapons?" "Ha ha ha, maybe she didn't lie. Her appearance can really please us tonight." A strong man with dark teeth and an irresistible lust in his eyes, put down his pistol and reached out to grab Gu Mingyue's buttocks. Gu Mingyue's eyes were cold and her ears moved slightly, as if she had eyes growing behind her. She accurately grasped the hand behind her that wanted to do evil and gave it a fierce downward bend. The crisp sound of bone fracture rang out, and the black-toothed man howled as he covered his right wrist, with no one around pulling the trigger. Gu Mingyue reacted quickly, pulling the broken wrist of the person and using force to swap the positions of the two. Ah. Who fired the gun? The black-toothed man was shot in the shoulder, his face pale and painful. "Don't shoot." Chris quickly stopped the shooter with a cold face and asked someone to help Black Fong away. Before the money could be asked, the woman couldn't die yet. Then he snorted lightly, "I can't see that you really have some skills on you. Wow, if you can close your eyes and defeat the person next to me, our previous transaction will continue." After speaking, a 1.9-meter strong man next to Chris stood up with the introduction. He had solid muscles all over his body, and his arms were thicker than Gu Mingyue's thighs. He punched the rolling shutter door, and the white one sank into a huge pit. "If he really hits you in the head with a punch, you'll still have a concussion if you don't die." Charlie looked down at the slender figure of Gu Mingyue with disdain in his eyes. "Little girl, now hand over your bank card and take care of us. There's still time. When you hit me with your fist, your head will open up." The other strong men all looked as if they were watching the show, some of whom had already put away their firearms and hugged their chests to watch him beat up the beautiful woman. Men are visual animals, either S or X stars. Shouting one after another. Head popping. Head popping. Head popping. Now they no longer want S. "I just want to see a beautiful woman with her head open and a shirt stained with blood and white." The scene of women powerless to resist and only being beaten to the ground to beg for mercy seems to make them even more excited. Gu Mingyue's hands trembled. Although the slogan was shouted by her opponent, it also awakened her bloodthirsty memory deep in her mind. Now, the adrenaline is soaring, and the frequency of blood vessel beating can be clearly perceived by her. She closed her eyes and gestured to the other person with a "come" gesture. Charlie's eyes were filled with anger after being provoked when he saw the woman across from him really close their eyes and accept the challenge. Why does this woman dare to underestimate him so much in the face of absolute power? Can she really close her eyes and defeat her professionally trained self? This is impossible. In addition to gender advantage, the power and pressure brought by weight are equally important. Even if this woman knows martial arts, she is always like a kitten scratching her fist in front of him. At this point, he took the lead in punching, without any mercy towards women. He went straight to the woman's face and wanted to shatter Gu Mingyue's beautiful nose bridge, making it impossible for her to undergo plastic surgery or repair in the future. Although not blessed with the physical abilities of abnormal beings possessed after the apocalypse, the reaction speed honed by 10 years of life and death is still present. Gu Mingyue felt the gentle breeze as her fist swung towards her. She simply turned to the left, easily avoiding the strong man's fist, and immediately ran behind the man. Oh, this little girl can't really defeat Charlie with her eyes closed, can she? She's just quick-witted, it's okay to dodge once, but she can't be so lucky all the time. As long as she gets punched, there's only a chance she'll get beaten. Upon hearing the voices of his companions, Charlie's anger grew even stronger. With all his might, he was bound to smash the next fist into Gu Mingyue's face, trying to regain his dignity. Flowing long hair brushed past his fist, and Charlie reached out to grab it. As long as he grabbed the hair, the woman still allowed him to rub and flatten it. Immediately, he could let the woman know how bright the blood-colored flowers bloomed. Puzzy. Blood spurted out from the skin, forming a beautiful arc in the air and landing on the ground. Chapter 10. White Whooping and Pointing Guns. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Charlie felt a sharp pain in his back just as the back of his hand touched the flexible ends of his hair, before he could even swing his second fist. Gu Mingyue relied on the muscle memory of his neck for many years, and before her brain could give any instructions, she conjured up a dagger from space and stabbed it into the opponent's vertebrae with her backhand. Before Charlie fell to the ground, his eyes were filled with an incredulous expression, causing him to not even let out a painful cry, and his life passed away like this. What? What's going on? Is this over? His companion exclaimed for him. Everything happened too quickly, and the woman was just a flash. How could she get behind Charlie? Gu Mingyue stood next to Charlie's body, holding a blood-dripping dagger in her hand. Her figure remained slender, her eyes slowly opened, and a bloodthirsty smile curved around her mouth. It seems that the reaction training in recent days has been good, and I feel a bit like I have regained the feeling of a post-apocalyptic battle. Gu Mingyue's operation fell into the eyes of other strong men, as if the Rakshasa had descended from hell. Where? The dagger here, isn't she wearing short sleeves? Someone exclaimed in shock. This woman cheated, she didn't know where she pulled out a dagger and killed Charlie, his companion exclaimed in panic. He had just looked carefully, and the dagger clearly appeared out of thin air. On Gu Mingyue's beautiful face, an innocent smile appeared, and the ethereal voice was transmitted to every eardrum. I said I could kill every one of you, but I didn't say bare-handed. She wasn't foolish, even if she didn't use a dagger to kill that person, could these people keep the agreement? In the face of trustworthy people, one must be sincere and right, but in the face of shameless scammers, resorting to multiple means is not considered bad. Chris regained his senses first and issued a fierce order. Kill her, avenge Charlie. He raised his pistol as he spoke. Others followed suit, no matter how beautiful the woman was, as long as it posed a threat to her own safety, she had to be killed. Stubborn. Stubborn. At the moment before the bullet was fired, the beautiful figure suddenly disappeared like a ghost in front of everyone's eyes, leaving only Charlie's body, which was still spraying blood on the ground, and the exploded shell case. Several strong men saw each other's fear in each other's eyes. Wow, wow. Where are the people? The person is missing, it wouldn't be. It's weird. Chris also panicked. They, the group of people who kill and set fire to vendors, do everything they want. They are all staunch atheists. Today, they have suddenly encountered this kind of thing. It's both a dagger and a woman disappearing in place. In an instant, everyone's hearts were raised to their throats. Boss. Give me a pinch, I feel like I've had a nightmare. The strong man reached out his arm to Chris. Pop. Chris forcefully opened his arm. Have a nightmare of farting, it's true. What should we do? Boss, it seems like we have really encountered a monster. It shouldn't be the Asian girl who was killed a few days ago. She died quite tragically. I heard that the Flower Kingdom female monster is the most terrifying existence in their country. Brothers, even if we meet a female monster today, we'll beat her into a sieve. Chris's eyes were bloodshot, indicating that this was a bit sinister. But he often goes to church to pray, washes his hands with holy water, and carries a cross with him, all of which give him the courage to fight against unknown monsters. Just as everyone was trembling and regaining their confidence, an Eastern man in a white uniform suddenly appeared where the girl had disappeared before. His gaze was indifferent, as if he didn't take these gunshots to heart. "Don't be fooled, shoot quickly," Chris shouted to his subordinates, being the first to shoot. The sound of rustling and bouncing through the handsome man's body revealed several translucent small holes, without a drop of blood, and the man seemed to feel no pain at all. He quickly ran towards the nearest strong man with his usual expression, grabbing his head and turning it 180 degrees like a steering wheel. A muscular burly man fell to the ground in a strange posture with his head facing back. Then the man suddenly conjured up an axe in his hand, facing the gun barrel and slashing at the other person's arms. He landed on the ground with his gun and arms together, and blood sprayed out like an open water pipe. "Ah ah ah. Help. It's really creepy. It's really creepy." They regret it, they shouldn't have angered the Asian woman just now. In no time, the pretty woman's figure suddenly appeared wearing a bulletproof vest and helmet. Perhaps it was terror that lowered their intelligence and controlled their spirits. The strong men were like rookies in the peaceful elite, shooting at the shield held by Gu Mingyue from a distance of a room. At first, Gu Mingyue made a few fake moves, occasionally stopping behind the shield and retracting her head and feet. Later, she realized that she didn't use it at all, and the remaining strong men's hands holding guns were trembling, their pupils trembling and not focusing at all. Staring blankly, Gu Mingyue rushed over like a cheetah, harvesting their heads with a machete, and then his pistol was taken away. Gu Mingyue put in some effort to find the black-toothed man who had previously wanted to extend his salty pig hand. The man's wound had not been properly bandaged yet, and he was curling up under the bed, covering his shoulder with the wound, causing him to roll his eyes in pain. Gu Mingyue bent down to see the person's frightened face, smiled cunningly, and politely said, "Hello." Then he grabbed the man's wrist where he wanted to escape and dragged him out. He stepped on the back of his hand and fired 5 shots at his fingers. A mournful and terrifying scream erupted from the filthy dark trading venue. Bright red blood splattered on the gray-white wall. A strong man with a double door has given up using a gun to deal with these two terrifying monsters, and his back is helpless against the wall. This man and woman are more terrifying than zombies in movies. Fragile tears dripped from the tough guy's eyes, and a yellow, foul-smelling liquid flowed out of his pants. "Don't kill me, I've never killed anyone before. I have more than a dozen younger brothers and sisters to support at home. Don't." Another life has passed under the woman's gun. Chris was already expressionless, devoutly holding the cross in his left hand and holding a randomly picked up submachine gun in his right hand, mercilessly shooting at the two of them. As well as his constantly begging subordinates. Gu Mingyue is undoubtedly lucky, lucky to have space, lucky to be reborn, and lucky to have this immortal and absolutely loyal space elf. So it's okay for her to use space to kill them. The hair was blown up by the gentle breeze, making Gu Mingyue's face even more delicate and delicate. Her eyes were also sparkling in the dark. With slender fingers hooked on the blood-stained pistol, Gu Mingyue walked towards Chris with a smile on her face. His 2 cuffs were empty, with no arms inside. Yu Guang scanned the abdominal muscles of Xinghe that had been shot into a leak, and Gu Mingyue narrowed her eyes slightly, leaving 3 blood holes on each of Chris's 3 legs. After a little torture, Chris reluctantly informed Gu Mingyue of the location of all the valuable items. "Are you really weird?" Chris asked last before he died. Gu Mingyue smiled and said, "Jie jie jie, my name in Huagua is Lin Yue. If you go to hell to find me, don't give me the wrong name. Without hesitation, pull the trigger after speaking. Bang! After Chris died, Mingyue searched the place inside and outside with Xinghe. Find 50 rifles, 38 pistols, 20 shotguns, 15 submachine guns, and 4 large snipers. More than 10 hand grenades, 8 crossbow guns with scopes, various types of bullets, 20 bulletproof vests, as well as several boxes piled with unknown powder and a whole wall of ugly national currency. Except for the box containing unknown powder, everything else is collected into the space. There is also a handsome blonde with a few stunned expressions who are easily controlled by that thing and damage their nerves. Mingyue has no softness in her heart, she cuts each person. This kind of weak physique is the first group of humanoid monsters when the end of the world comes. She just sent them away first, let alone the risk of exposing space if more people know. Mingyue searched the entire cellar, garage, and attic of the abandoned house, peeled off the wallpaper to see if there were any cameras, and collected the tables and chairs stained with blood into the space. Before leaving, he lit a big fire and burned the evil along with the body. Chris, who went back and forth, taught Mingyue a lesson. As a person reborn from the end of the world, being honest and trustworthy with her own people is enough. In the following days, several supernatural events erupted overnight in multiple major countries.